Look, we are building out a large coalition program from Latinos for Trump, Black Voices for Trump, the faith-based, all kinds of different coalitions. That's an important thing for us to do. We need to turn out those voters. I think the Republican Party is on a straight course to more victories, win back the House, grow the lead in the Senate, and have 4 more years of President Trump.
That right there is a highly confident campaign manager with Martha last night. Trump campaign building momentum, his re-election operation raising $105 million in the second quarter. Let's bring in our headliner, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor. He's got a brand new podcast. It's called Newt's World that you can get on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Sir, welcome back here.
Good morning.
I know you were listening to Parscale last night. What did you sense about how confident he seemed to be with their operation and what they're trying to do?
Oh, look, I've worked with Brad since the convention in 2016. He's that confident because he is building a machine, working very, very closely with Ronald McDonald over at the Republican National Committee. He's very close to the president. You have a president who spends time every day trying to make sure he wins, but deep down, I think President Trump's pretty confident that when it's over, he's going to be reelected. And that makes Parscale the right campaign manager because he's pretty sure when it's over, Trump's going to get reelected. So they're a pretty good team. That doesn't mean that they're sloppy. It doesn't mean they're overconfident. This is all predicated on just tremendous amounts of hard work. I mean, 2 things. Look at the amount of money Parscale has helped raise, and then look at the size of every one of these rallies. I mean, part of what you see out there is a permanent campaign of 20, 30, 40,000 people at a time, many of whom didn't vote for Trump. I think 44% of the people at the El Paso rally were Latinos. And so there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And the other side is they look at the debates the other night and they think these people are going to go so far to the left, they're going to leave a gap about 25 miles wide between their views and the American people. And I think all of this is coming together in a way that's a little reminiscent of 1972 and 1984 when the 2 Republican incumbents won massive re-elections. So I think Parscale's probably right.
Who poses the biggest threat on the left right now for the president, Speaker?
No one. Look, if the economy stays good and the president stays focused, he's going to win. Now, he might win by different coalitions. He'd probably have a marginally harder time in some ways with Biden or a marginally harder time with Kamala Harris, who I think, and I just wrote a piece for Newsweek, I think she's probably the most dangerous of the Democrats. But I also think that a left-wing politician from California is a pretty long way from the center of the American political system. So what I see building, if you the other night when every single candidate raised their hand in favor of tax-paid health care for illegal immigrants, you can't get much further away from the American people than they're getting. So in my mind, we're going to have a nominee of the Democratic Party. It'll be a very left-wing person, and they will have an almost impossible time defending their positions.
Let's just look at some of the polling now, just so our viewers are up to date. RCP average, Biden by 12 on Sanders. Go to the ABC News poll that was released today, Biden by 11 on Sanders. Then you got a Quinnipiac poll from yesterday where Biden's only up 2 on Kamala Harris. So we'll see which way that goes. I know you've been following from afar what's happening on the southwestern border and the trip that some Democrats in the House made this week. Here is Rush Limbaugh's take on what he has heard from some of their reactions down there.
Looks like she once again tried to pull off a hoax, screaming at federal officials, making wild claims about illegals being told to drink toilet water. It looks like a stunt. She has looked particularly ridiculous this past week. I think she's trying to create a situation to make herself look good, make the federal employees look bad. And somebody needs to call her on it. DOJ needs to call her on it. ICE, Border Patrol need to call her on it.
So then the argument comes back to why you vote against the border funding from last week. And you look at some of the pictures now.
I thought Kellyanne Conway.
Go ahead.
I thought Kellyanne captured that perfectly yesterday. You have with AOC somebody, and I just wrote a newsletter for Fox News about this today. What has surprised me is that she is viciously dishonest. And by viciously, I mean she votes, there are 99 Democrats who vote against humanitarian aid. They then go to the border to look at the disaster the Congress has created. Remember, every major problem dealing with asylum, dealing with people coming over, dealing with people who are being attracted to come to the U.S. from Guatemala or El Salvador or Honduras, because they've been told, hey, the Americans are so stupid, if you get there, you're going to get in, you're going to get taken care of. So you now have over 100,000 people a month coming, and you just had the former Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, for Barack Obama, who said, if we went to open borders, you could multiply that to 1 million a month. Now, so people like AOC create the disaster, refuse to fix it, vote against funding to help people, and then go down there to attack the people who are saying to her, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough facilities, the law doesn't work, why don't you go back and fix it? And I just think her attitude and her approach is, and I use these words deliberately, she is a viciously dishonest person. You have a man and his daughter dying in the river because the Democrats in Congress refuse to fix the law, refuse to control the border, refuse to pass humanitarian aid. It is truly despicable to watch people like this operate, and I think she should be shamed over it. I think people should say, this is not tolerable. That's not the kind of person that the news media, frankly, ought to be covering, because she's so dishonest.
Wow.
If we could, Speaker, end on the fact that we are up against a holiday tomorrow, the 4th of July, Independence Day. The president plans a big celebration in Washington. Meanwhile, Nike pulling shoes from its shelves because it's got the Betsy Ross flag on it. Final thoughts from you. A lot to bite into there.
Look, parts of American corporate culture have now sold out, are so intimidated they do truly dumb things. What Nike did was truly dumb and a little sad. The idea that they are somehow embarrassed to have an original American flag coming out on the week of July 4th, give me a break. I think people at Nike should be ashamed, and I think the Nike stockholders ought to be demanding that they change their position.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Newt Gingrich with us today. Happy 4th of July to you. We'll see how it goes tomorrow night on the National Mall. Thank you, sir.